Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. I have a special edition today of Level-Headed News. This is in addition to my noon broadcast. This particular one is going to be about voter fraud, and I have several articles here that I wanted to read on this because I felt that it was such an important topic. I decided to do a special edition on it. The URLs for the articles that I'm going to bring up here are in the description of the video so that you can look at them at your leisure and see any more information that you'd like to gather on this. The first one that we have here is off of the gatewaypundit.com, and it says, "More crooked Democrats, police raid offices of Indiana voter registration project in voter fraud case." It says Indiana police raided the offices of Indiana voter registration project in North Indianapolis on Tuesday in a growing voter fraud case. It is not clear who established or funded the Indiana voter registration project. However, the group released a statement through spokeswoman Christy Setzer, whose PR firm website says she has worked as a Democratic strategist for the presidential campaign of Al Gore, Howard Dean, and Chris Dodd. Indiana State Police investigators on Tuesday searched a voter registration agency on Indianapolis's north side as they look into voter fraud case that spans 9 counties. The investigation began in late August when police learned of the filing of fraudulent voter registration forms in Marion and Hendricks counties. The investigation has expanded from Marion and Hendricks counties to include Allen, Delaware, Hamilton, Hancock, Johnson, Lake, and Madison counties, according to a statement from state police. Police said the growing number of involved counties leads investigators to believe that the number of fraudulent records might be in the hundreds. The possible fraudulent information is a combination of fake names, addresses, and date of birth with real information. As part of the expanded investigation, state police detectives served a search warrant for business offices of the Indiana Voter Registration Project in the 2400 block of North Meridian Street. The next one that I have for you is off of the IndyChannel.com, and this is an update to the last one, and this came out at 7:16 Eastern Time last night, October the 6th. It says voter registration fraud investigation expands to 57 Indiana counties. Indianapolis, the investigation of voter registration fraud in Indiana expanded Thursday from 9 counties to a total of 57. Indiana State Police began looking into voter fraud in Hendricks and Marion counties in August of 2016. Detectives say a group by the name of Indiana Voter Registration Project turned in forged voter registration applications. They say the group was altering already registered voters' information, changing the voter's address to an address not associated with the voter and without the voter's knowledge. On October the 4th, Allen, Delaware, Hamilton, Hancock, Johnson, Lake, and Madison counties were added to the voter fraud investigation. As part of the investigation, the business offices of the Indiana Voter Registration Project in the 2400 block of North Meridian were raided. In response to the raid, Patriot Majority USA President Craig Varaga said, "After all is said and done, when this partisan investigation finds no wrongdoing by the organization, Connie Lawson and the state police will have prevented 45,000 African Americans from voting in this year's elections. That's why today we reported their outrageous actions to the Department of Justice." State police say they aren't able to tell at this point how many registered voters may have victims of voter fraud. You may not know you've been affected until you go to vote and realize your information has been altered. If you are affected, you'll need to cast a provisional ballot. To make sure you haven't been affected by voter registration fraud, confirm your registration at indianavoters.in.gov if you live in the state of Indiana. If there is inaccurate information, call the Indiana State Police Voter Registration Application Fraud Tip Line at 888-603-3147. The Secretary of State's office is also available to help voters from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on regular business days by calling 866-461-8683. Voter registration deadline is October the 11th. While all Indiana voters should confirm their voter registration information, it's especially important for voters who live in the counties being investigated. And here is the list of all the Indiana counties that are being investigated. These counties, you should call your voter registration office and double check on your registration and make sure you're valid. Indiana counties are Adams, Allen, Bartholomew, Benton, Blackford, Boone, Brown, Carroll, Cass, Clark, Clay, Clinton, Davies, Dearborn, Decatur, DeKalb, Delaware, Du Bois, Fayette, Floyd, Franklin, Fulton, Gibson, Grant, Greene, Hamilton, Hancock, Harrison, Hendricks, Henry, Howard, Huntington, Jefferson, Jackson, Jasper, Jay, Jefferson, Jennings, Johnson, Knox, Kosciuszko, LaGrange, Lake, LaPorte, Lawrence, Madison, Marion, Marshall, Martin, Miami, Monroe, Montgomery, Morgan, Noble, and Owen counties. That's 57 counties that are affected by this. So make calls if you're planning to vote. Make sure that you are eligible. Early voting starts on the 12th, but your registration has to be valid as of the 11th. The next article that I have for you says that it is off the viralliberty.com, and it says massive voter fraud discovered in Illinois. Hillary just got caught. Hillary cannot win the election honestly, so she has to set out to steal it. Wouldn't you know, crooked unions are behind the scheme. This is increasingly desperate measures the Democratic Party is using to try to win, according to the Federalist Papers. Leftist thugs in suburban Chicago have been caught paying people to vote for Democrats. The Kankakee County Attorney's Office is investigating at least 3 cases of voter fraud where people were offered bribes for voting. In addition, State Attorney Jamie Boyd said several vote-by-mail applications have been mailed in from people who live outside the country. The Daily Journal is reporting the unprecedented action was taken in response to reports of individuals from Chicago offering gifts to potential voters in exchange for a vote for Kate Clunan, Hillary Clinton, and others, Boyd said in the news release. Our office takes seriously the obligation to protect the rights of citizens to vote for candidates of their choice, and to do so without undue influence from special interest groups. The investigation will also focus on the authenticity mail requests. Several applications have been filed with the election authority that appear to be fraudulently executed. More amazingly, the voters who were bribed were actually being transported by van to county clerk's offices to vote early. Nobody has caught the perpetrators yet, but it's pretty clear who is responsible. Union thugs and their Democratic masters are working for Democrat Kate Clunan in a highly contested race against local Republican attorney Lindsey Parkhurst. These reports of voter fraud in Kankakee are incredibly disturbing, Parkhurst said. Fair and honest elections are the bedrock of our democracy. It's truly deplorable when people try to corrupt our system in this manner. Of course, Clunan would not comment, but 2 union thugs would. The accusers, they tried to claim that voter disenfranchisement from Republicans is common. So I guess this makes their voter fraud okay. We know many illegal registered voters have been turned away from voting over the last few days. Union reps Gary and Mike Smith said, since early voting for the 2016 general election began just a few short days ago, there have been numerous reports and eyewitness accounts of harassment and intimidation by local government officials of residents trying to participate in the democratic process of voting. It is a felony to try to coerce or influence a voter, and Boyd, a Republican who lost his bid this year to become a judge, said that the clerk's office will not be handing out I voted stickers in an effort to stem any voter buying efforts. Just another day in corrupt Illinois. If you agree, please share and comment below. By sharing this story, you are helping Donald J. Trump to become our new U.S. president. That's how the article reads here. So, information. I read you the other day the article about Ohio, where an electrician was working on some electrical stuff in a warehouse and found tubs of hundreds of thousands of Democratic ballots already stamped out before the election even has started over there. So Ohio is also involved. I imagine several states that we haven't even heard from yet are involved. But I have one more article here. It's off the WashingtonTimes.com, and it says voter fraud is real. Now, analysis opinion says, when most of us think of voter fraud, we consider specific instances of individuals gaming the system. Voter fraud, however, is a broad, encompassing event, as Matthew Badham notes in American Thinker. And electoral fraud refer to specific offenses of fraudulent voting, impersonation, perjury, voter registration fraud, forgery, counterfeiting, bribery, destroying already cast ballots, and multitude of crimes related to the electoral process. For some reason, liberals and Democrats have not only ignored the issue, they've actively worked to dismiss the idea entirely. Liberal think tanks, sorry for the contradiction in terms, media, talking heads, and Democratic leadership have all worked for years to convince the American public it doesn't exist, while then working feverishly to thwart state-based efforts to secure the electoral system with voter identification laws. Real, however, and is happening now as we prepare to vote in the most important presidential election of our lives. That effort is to secure voting systems for citizens by making sure only citizens are voting. The Democrats argue it's racist to demand ID at the polls. They know that it's not true, as evidenced by the fact that they don't demand an end, and it wants me to click here to read more. Okay. And that made me lose my place. Wonderful. Okay. Let me catch up to where I was here. I'm getting there. Hang on. When they jump around like this. Okay, that effort is to secure the voting system for citizens, making sure only citizens are voting. The Democrats argue it's racist to demand IDs at the polls. They know that it's not true, as evidenced by the fact that they don't demand an end to ID requirements in any other aspect of living our lives. After all, if it's racist to ask for an ID at a voting booth, why isn't it so at an airport, or to get into federal buildings, or to open a checking account? Now, with 34 days to Election Day, the reality of continuing seriousness of voter fraud is becoming apparent. With early voting underway in many U.S. states for presidential election, a local television station in Colorado is reporting that at least 78 dead people are registered to vote on the state, and they're not just passively listed. Breitbart reports one of the biggest voter fraud cases the station found was through the voting record of Sarah Sosa of Colorado Springs. She died October the 14th of 2009, but ballots were cast in her name in 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013. Critical swing state, a watchdog group has found at least 1,000 non-citizens registered to vote during the 2008 and 2012 elections, according to Polisete. J. Christian Adams at PJ Media notes, that's because of Motor Voter, or the National Voter Registration Act 1993 mandates that anyone who applies for a driver's license must be offered voter registration. To register, they must merely mark a checkbox that they are a citizen and sign the form. It's a yes/no question, and thousands are lying. At the time motor voter law pushed by Clinton administration was decried as swinging open the door for election fraud, which when I was on the left organizer when this was implemented, it was jokingly referred to as expanding the base. One of the more shocking recent revelations was the report that Arkan Seaton, the Turkish man accused of fatally shooting 5 at the Cascade Mall in Burlington, had voted in multiple elections despite being non-citizen. Initially, both local and federal law enforcement confirmed to reporters that Mr. Seaton, as just a green card holder and ineligible to vote. As that story generated outrage on social media, suddenly the local TV station covering the story announced in a single unnamed federal source contacted them and told them Mr. Seaton was a citizen and could vote. Why the statement is to be taken as truth and not the original. Multiple statements by both local and federal authorities is not. The ensuing controversy about whether or not that beast was participating in our electoral system, at least according to Polizette, Hyman, the Washington Secretary of State, to band together with local auditors to propose requiring proof of citizenship at registration. How nice of them to suggest something that would take a step toward ensuring the integrity of our electoral system. In the meantime, as we deal with dead people and non-citizens striking the legitimacy of our system, the Department of Homeland Security has disclosed that hackers have targeted the voter registration system in more than 20 states. While the registration system with actual voting, the concern is the vulnerability of all of our systems in most hackings, including the White House, State Department, the Obamacare website, the Democratic National Committee. The intrusions were not discovered until months, or in the case of DNC, more than a year had passed. One might note, with federal government unable to protect its own systems, why should we believe that online voting is secure? And when that same government is working to thwart efforts that maintain the integrity of the electoral system by protecting it own, our responsibility this year is more than casting our votes. It now must encompass being a watchdog for fraud in the aftermath of this nationally existential vote on November the 8th. That I have for you on voter fraud at this point in time. So I hope you enjoy that, and I will see you at noon for the regular version of our news program. Thanks for watching. Bye.